What's going on, guys? Aaron from Top Tier Gaming here, and today we are going to be doing a Banlist prediction video, and I feel like this had to come out today, which should be early morning Monday when this is going out, because at any moment I think we actually could get the ban list. Now that European Nationals are over with, at any moment Konami could release the actual ban list, so there is a very small chance that this video is going to be relevant for 2.5 hours and they release something. But you know, with the ban list, we never know for sure. It could be weeks before we get one. But I wanted to wait until after European Nationals to really give my thoughts on the ban list, to really see what the final, tournament reports for the current format that we are in. And yeah, I felt like after European Nationals, we'd have a final grasp on what should go and what shouldn't. And of course, with the ban list, you always, ban list prediction, you always have to be wary that some things on here are going to be like full predictions, and some things are going to be things that I want. I'll be sure to sort of distinguish, which are the ones I want personally, but especially with stuff coming back off the list, it's really hard to decide when Konami decides something can come back off the ban list, right? But I'll sort of give my thoughts on everything I'm going to place here and explain why I've put the cards where I've put them. Before I go over the ban list, I do want to let you guys know Discord link down below with all of our other social media links, and I'm also trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We are super close right now. I think we're at like 9.8k, super close to 10,000. So if you do enjoy this Yu-Gi-Oh content and you want to see more, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps me out in what I do here on the channel. But without further ado, let's get into this ban list. And starting with the first card, in my opinion, that needs to be banned, we are going to take a look at Mystic Mine. This card at European Nationals was the most disgusting card ever. Like, obviously, a bunch of us have wanted this card banned for so long. Like, there's a very small portion of the community that thinks like Mystic Mine is fine because it dampers the combo decks. The problem is the combo decks are what are abusing this card the most. There was a Sprite player, Joshua Schmidt, who was using Beat Cop to protect his Mystic Mine. Like, Dryden's been abusing this card forever. Like, combo decks are abusing this, and at that point, this card has to go. It is so toxic. Games are decided by this card. It forces you to build your deck like improperly to have an out for it. It's a really annoying card. It needs to be put on the ban list, and if it's not happening this format after European Nationals and the North American Nationals, it might never happen. But I'm really hoping for a Mystic Mine ban, or if not banned, at least a limit. The next card on the ban list, I am going to put Halki Fibrax. Now this card, it's his time. Like, this card is so good, and I feel like so many things can come back if this card is banned. There's so much going on with this card, essentially since like the Brave package came out. I think Hulk has come back into the limelight. So for like the last year, ever since like the base deck, and of course going into Dragon Link with Red Rose, and like all the Hot Red Calamity plays that were being made with this card in the previous format, like Emergency Teleport with the Punk engine, like Hulk has been in the limelight for months now. And there was a period of time where it looks like Hulk wasn't that bad, and that was like back in Tri-Brigade format. But Hulk, it's his time, personally, I think so. And there's so many good things that can happen if this card is banned. Like, I think this card should just finally be banned. All right, next one on the list, I think this is going to be no surprise to anyone. We've all been hoping for it. It is Artifact Scythe being banned. Even though right now, in this very moment, looking at the most like recent tournament reports and nationals in this format, Scythe hasn't been like the biggest issue. It is still just one of the most toxic cards in the game. There are still people citing Artifact Sanctum with Scythe, which you could argue that version of Scythe is fair. And there's not many combo decks going around right now that are actually scything people. The fact is, when this card resolves, it is sometimes just a turn skip. We wanted this card banned for so long, just because this format is shaping up to not be a Scythe format. Like, I don't want Scythe sort of slipping under the radar and being fine for another format where it will inevitably be just a turn skip in a real game decider. It is truly just a toxic card that deserves to be banned. I think we're at the point where Dagda isn't the pick anymore. I don't know if it ever was, but I think a lot of us can agree that Scythe needs to go. All right, next for this ban list is a card that recently came back, but this card, I want this card rebanned. It is Fairy Tale Snow. So this card, I mean, like, it came back and we were like, okay, Grass isn't in the format. It won't be that crazy. BA is not like a deck anymore. What's really going to abuse Snow? And it sort of started with Branded Fusion and Shooting Riser. And it was like, okay, like, this is a little annoying. It's a way to play around our really good side deck cards, which is sort of frustrating. Fairy Tale Snow is a super powerful card, but it's not like too terrible. And then Tearlament came out, and the Tearlament oh my goodness, it's so good in that deck. Like, I've seen, like, Dragon Link as well. Dragon Link is still around, partly because of Snow and, like, Hulk, and I feel like if you hit these cards, you don't have to hit Dragon Link, along with some other cards that are on this list. But I remember at European Nationals, one of the rounds, like, this guy ended with almost just Fairy Tail Snow Engrave, because his seals got impermed, so he Fairy Tail Snowed, booked something, and then he seals Tribute to the Snow for cost and Fairy Tail Snowed again. Like, some game states, she's like 3 or 4 interrupts by herself, it feels like, and she's a crazy extender with, especially since Curious is being played now to such a high extent, I think Snow is just beyond good, and she should probably be back on the ban list. Alright, next up we have another card that I think should be banned. Like, personally I feel like it should be banned, but I don't think they will. I think Super Poly needs to be banned. This card's disgusting. It's being main decked at 3 in so many decks. Essentially, Garura came out, and it put this card from being a very, like, niche board breaker to a board breaker against almost every deck. And I feel like now with Garura in the format, this card is actually just so insane, and it's really annoying to play against because there's no counter. I mean, like, there's no real counter. You can set up your board and play suboptimally to end on, like, a board that's okay but doesn't lose to Super Poly. But once you establish a board and it's able to be polyed, there's nothing you can do. You can't respond to this card. And it's not like Dark Ruler that can't be responded to with monsters. It can't be Solemn Judgmented, nothing. It's obscenely good as a board breaker. There's like an argument that right now with boards being as strong as they are, we don't really need to hit the board breaking cards. But Super Poly is one of the most toxic board breakers, and I really am sort of disgusted with the card. The only time I would want it in a format is if Colossus was back, and spoiler alert, I do not have Colossus coming back on this ban list. But yeah, I think Super Poly is beyond disgusting and should probably be banned. Last up for the banned section, and it's sort of one that I would say is a want rather than a prediction, because it's really hard to judge when Konami is ever going to bring this card back, but I feel like something needs to be hit. So I am going to ban Wind Up Hunter, and I think that says something that's going to be in the limited section, but Wind Up Hunter is being banned for a card later, so I'll sort of explain that as we go on. But now hopping into the limited section. Alright, so starting off, I want to put some cards on the limited section that can come back because Halki Fibrax is banned in this list, and that will be Linkross, and I have a picture of Glow Up Bulb here, but it sort of represents all tuners that are on the list specifically because of Halki Fibrax. So that'd be like Steam the Cloak, O-Lion, Glow Up Bulb, and I think, Jet came back last list, so it's not in that group anymore. But, the tuners that are banned because of Hulk, they can come back to 1 bare minimum. I mean, Glow Up Bulb you would just put at 3. Most of those you would just put at 3 if they're coming up anyways. So maybe these should actually be here, but I'll just put them in 1 because saying they can come back because Hulk is now banned. Next up, like a real pick for putting things at 1, I have Emergency Teleport. This card has got to go. Now, there's an argument you could do Chaos Ruler, and I think that argument is fine, right? If Chaos Ruler's banned and Halki Fibrax are banned, E-Telly could probably honestly stay at 3 for the pure Punk deck. That might be a route Konami goes for, so I do want to put like a caveat on Emergency Teleport. Like, if Hulk and Chaos Ruler are both banned, Telly doesn't need to be hit, but if only one of them is banned and I only have Hulk on this list, then I think E-Telly should probably go to 1. Like, the Punk engine as an engine is just really good, and it's being used in a lot of decks right now as an engine. Dragon Link, Tearlament, Pure Punk. I do hate that putting this to 1 hurts the Pure Punk deck, because I don't think that deck needs to be hurt, because it's like a really good deck, but it's not something that needs to be hit. But E-Telly has been a problem for a while. It's just like too strong, and I'm arguing that it should go to 1. Alright, next for the limited hits, I'm going to put Water Enchantress, and I've sort of decided to put Water Enchantress at 1 and not hit Right, which is different than what the OCG did. There's a bunch of different ways they could go for this. They could put Right at 1 and leave Enchantress at 3. They could put both of them to 2. They could put both to 1, to be honest, but I feel like hitting one of them to 1 makes the engine a lot less consistent. You're running almost as many bricks as you are good cards. I'm not sure it needs to be hit so heavily as 1 and 1. Maybe 2 and 2 will work, but for this list, I've decided to put Water Enchantress at 1. I'm just sort of noting that I think the engine should be hit to some capacity. Like, Right or Enchantress should probably be hit somewhere on the list because the Brave engine has been good for a very long time now, and it's probably past due to get hit. All right, sort of next pick is the last card I have, I believe, of cards that are currently at like 3 and need to be dropped down to 1. So not stuff coming back, but stuff that needs to be hit. And I have a picture of Antispell Fragrance right here. Antispell is getting a CR reprint in Tactical Masters, so there's a strong chance it won't be hit because Konami reprinted it high rarity. But I feel like even though it can't be banned, and if you're going with that logic, you could probably still put it to 1. Antispell, and really, honestly, if this was a pure wish list, I would have Antispell, Gozen, Rivalry, TC Boo, Skill Drain. I would have all of these floodgates at 1. They have essentially dominated both national scenes, but Antispell in particular, shutting off an entire game mechanic, and honestly, an entire deck being Pendulum, that's really too strong, and I think this card is really, really evil and should probably be at 1. Alright, I was wrong. Antispell is not the last one I'm putting to 1. I also have Fluanderee's Magnificent Map. This one might be just a little bit of a wish list pick, a little bit of bias. I do not like this deck. I have opted not to hit Despia or Sword Soul. I think Konami definitely could do it, don't get me wrong. That's something they might do to push the new decks more. But I feel like the new decks are already dominating. They don't need to hit Sword Soul. They don't need to hit Despia, like maybe opening to 1, maybe Brand Infusion to 1, but Sword Soul definitely don't need to be hit in my opinion. Like, they were already a kind of just a fair deck that got outclassed a little bit. But map, I have a special hatred in my heart for Fluanderees, so no offense to the Fluanderees players. But yeah, put map to 1. It'd make me happy. I'm sure it'd make a lot of you guys happy. We'd just be happier with this card at 1. So honestly, if this was like my last ban list, you know, Robina would be up here, Eglin would be here, M-Pen would be here, but being a little more fair, I've decided to just limit map. Alright, so the rest of the one-ofs are cards I have coming to 1 back off the ban list, and I think the most obvious one is the Wind-Up Carrier Zen Mighty, because I banned Hunter. Can we have Boat back? It's actually been like 8 years or more. 8, 9 years maybe? Why is Zen Mighty still banned? What is going on? And then I've also decided to put Blaster here. Honestly, I think every Dragon Ruler could come back. Redox is literally just like a worse Vernisylph, which are out now. He's like an okay card. Title's pretty good to proc things in Mermail, but are we really afraid of Mermail right now? Like, that deck's scary going first, but it has no go second. Blaster is by far the easiest one to come back. Like, why are the Dragon Rulers still banned? I think, you know, and speaking of Dragon Rulers and things that can come back, I also have Spellbook of Judgment on this list. It's time to bring this format back. Like, we are not playing in 2014, 2013 anymore. Why are these still hit? Like, Judgment just came back in the OCG, is of course doing nothing. Spellbooks are literally just a weaker Fluanderees. Like, Fluanderees does everything Spellbooks does, but better and arguably more consistent and dies to Ash less. So I think Judgment can definitely come back. It's not its former, you know, it's not like Fate plus some other interrupts are going to stop a turn anymore, right? So, and we have way more outs to Jowgen than we did back then as well. So Judgment and, you know, all these cards should come back. Why are these still hit? All right, next coming back on the list, I have Zodiac Dryden. Dryden, I think, was hit in Tri-Brigade format for like, I mean, a couple of reasons. Like, Tri-Brigade was like the best deck and Dryden was a very good card, but I feel like Dryden's hit was almost misplaced. Like, I don't feel like Dryden was ever super powerful or a huge problem. I think Dryden can come back easily. I still have Barrage banned on this list because I think Zeus becomes infinitely more powerful if you have Barrage, which can extend past the normal summon. So maybe Barrage can still stay banned. I feel like both coming back at the same time. They'd want to test the waters first, but Dryden is a quick effect pop. Like, what are we afraid of a quick effect pop in modern Yu-Gi-Oh? It's just kind of silly. It's not like Zodiac Eldritch is going to be a deck anytime soon, so Dryden can definitely come back to 1. Alright, next up we have a pretty interesting one. You know, this always gets some discussion, but I've decided to bring Harpur back. I don't think that Orchist would be any more broken than the decks we have now. Honestly, I feel like Engage was always a way more powerful card than Harpur. I guess they're afraid that Harp is like more splashable in other decks, and Orchist is actually a competent deck when you have Harpur in the format, but I I think it's at least time to test it. This card is nowhere near, in my opinion, as good as like Colossus or Engage. I actually don't know why Harp's still banned comparatively. I guess because Dark's such a splashable engine, and you know, Dark has the best support, and Harp is super good for, you know, a Dark related deck like Orcus. So I can see it a little bit, but honestly, I think Harp can come back to 1 very easily. I still have Colossus banned, and that is probably where that card should stay. That card is a walking floodgate. Harpur is literally a special summon. I think the difference is apparent. Alright, for the semi-limits, I have literally nothing. I don't think anything is semi-limited here. Now, there were definitely cards I could put in the semi-limit section, right? Like, I could semi-limit Enchantress and Right. I could put, like, Opening or Emergence to 2. Like, there were a couple of options I could put to 2. Like, E-Tele you could technically put to 2 as well. There's a lot of options I could put to 2, but I just don't think they're actually worth putting to 2, and they probably shouldn't happen anyway. So going straight on to Unlimits, I'm going to have the, first of all, this was the biggest mistake on any ban list I've ever seen. Why was Shooting Riser put to 1? I swear I've been saying that for like 3 months straight since it was put on the, this was the most out of touch hit I've ever seen in my life. No one was running 2 Shooting Riser. Like, at least Hulk to 1 was like, some decks played 2. Why was Shooting Riser hit? What? This card was never played at more than 1. Next, for 3, I have Desires. This card probably shouldn't be at 2. Probably shouldn't have been hit to 1. That was another really out of touch hit. It was like a Sword Soul hit or a Tri-Brigade hit. I don't know. It was kind of weird. This card should be at 3. Bringing back Fusion Destiny. Verity's banned. The engine is much less good. It sees almost no play. Fusion Destiny can probably come back to 3 for hero players. Maybe some decks like, you know, Sky Striker and Tri-Brigade might try to play it as well, but overall I think this to 3 is fine. We also have Dynamite Knight. True Draco can get a little bit of love. Wall of Revealing Light, this is just something that, you know, is coming back. It went to 2, and now it can come back to 3. Tenki, you know, I'm putting Dryden back to 1 and Tenki back to 3 on the same list. I don't know if we're still afraid of Zodiac Tri-Brigade. If we are, you know, this might seem a little weird, but honestly, I think that deck's super fair, and 3 Tenki isn't something crazy. If Recital Starling's still at 1, Bird Up is still hit to an extent, and Samorg is banned, which was always the main deal, because Statue is less of a problem, right? So, or Apex, whichever version they were going for, but yeah, I think Tenki can easily come back to 3. We also have Light Stage going to 3. This could have gone to 3 very easily before. The second Verite was hit, this card can come to 3. Now, it is pretty cool as a sprite engine. A lot of people have been talking about it as a funny sprite engine with Lilybell, but yeah, it can definitely come to 3. And then lastly, I have Metaverse here, because we are banning Mystic Mine. So Metaverse, with Mine banned, Metaverse is a completely fine and fair card for field spell decks as like an additional terraforming. Now, it's kind of weird with things like Secret Village and other Floodgate field spells, but I think Metaverse can come to 3 if Mine is banned. Alright, so that's going to do it for my tier list. Or I say tier list, but it's actually a ban list. I'm just on the tier list site. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. What cards did I miss, which I'm sure there's many? What cards did I place incorrect, in your opinion? Or how would you rank the list? I'm curious to see what you guys think, so leave it down in the comments below. I'll be sure to read them. And yeah, that's going to do it for this ban list prediction video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. This has been Aaron from Top Tier Gaming. Bye, YouTube.